Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Snubbed. This is episode 9. Can you believe it? I can't. The snubbed movie I watched this time, and I say snubbed in quotes, was It's a Gift from 1934, the W.C. Fields movie. And I will tell you a little bit about it. This is from Wikipedia, obviously. It's a Gift is a 1934 American comedy film starring W.C. Fields. It was Fields' 16th sound film and his fifth in 1934 alone. It was directed by Norman MacLeod, who had directed Fields in his cameo as Humpty Dumpty in Alice in Wonderland 1933. The film concerns the trials and tribulations of a grocer as he battles a shrewish, that's tough, a shrewish wife, an incompetent assistant, and assorted annoying children, customers, and salesmen. The film reprises routines honed by Fields from his career over the years 1915 to 1925. Fields often tried to recapture sketches that led to his stage success onto film. Skits such as The Picnic, A Joyride, and most famously The Back Porch are all featured in It's a Gift. Lesser known than some of Fields' later work, such as The Bank Dick, the film is perhaps the best example of the recurring theme of the everyman battling against his domestic entrapment. Historians and critics have often cited its numerous memorable comic moments. It is one of several Paramount Pictures in which Fields contended with child actor Baby Leroy. As I said, directed by Norman Z. MacLeod, written by Jack Cunningham, based on the Comics Supplement 1925 play by J.P. McAvoy. Story by Charles Bogle Fields. Produced by William LeBaron, starring W.C. Fields and Baby Leroy. There were many more people. Cinematography, Henry Sharp. Music by John Leopold. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. Released November 17th, 1934, with a runtime of 68 minutes. Love it. So W.C. Fields played Harold Bissonette. His wife pronounces it Bissonnet. Kathleen Howard as Amelia Bissonnet. His wife, Jean Rouverol as Mildred Bissonnet, Julian Madison as John Durst, and Tommy Bupp as Norman Bissonnet. And Jean Rouverol played the daughter. She's probably about 18 at the time. I was looking it up, looking up the cast, and she died in 2017 at the age of 100. It's always crazy to watch these old movies and look them up and see, oh my God, these people lived into pretty close to now. Like some of them died fairly recently, and it's bananas. Reception: a contemporary review from Argus in the Literary Digest, 1935, declared it is clumsy, crude, and quite amateurish in its appearance. It says so many words I'm struggling with. It merely happens that a great comedian appears in it and has a free hand in his brilliant clowning, with the result that defects become unimportant and the film emerges as a comedy delight. As of January 2023, the film has a reviewer rating of 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. In 2010, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. And the film is recognized by the American Film Institute in 2000 when they did AFA's 100 Years, 100 Laughs. This was number 58. All that said, it was funny. It was, kind of in the line of like Duck Soup, which I watched recently as one of these snubbed movies. It was a little repetitive. There was, 68 minutes. There was probably like 3 or 4 jokes that they just kept repeating over and over and over again. So, like, for example, in the opening there, it mentioned the back porch skit, which was something I guess he used to do on stage. And that was a good 10 to 15 minutes long at least. And it was basically him on the back porch trying to take a nap. And there's a floor above their apartment and a floor below. And all these things just keep happening that make noise and keep waking him up, like the swing he's sleeping on breaks. Milkman comes and the bottles are rattling, and he also delivers a coconut, which then bounces down all the stairs, hitting trash cans along the way. And then, salesmen and the neighbors and all these things that keep waking him up. There was also in the kind of not quite the opening, but in the beginning, He was working in the grocery store, and this guy wanted kumquats, 10 pounds of kumquats. And all these other things kept happening. A blind man comes in and keeps breaking everything that's glass. And he just keeps ignoring the guy that wants the kumquats, mostly because he didn't have kumquats and didn't want to tell the guy. But by the end of these sketches, I was like, give the guy the kumquats. And, the back porch thing, it was like, it just went on too long in some cases. And the way the movie ended, I thought it was going to end on sort of a downer note. It ended happily. But by the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, get to the point. Like, it was just so much like misery in a comedic way, but it was still, this guy's misery throughout. His wife was super annoying, and I know she was supposed to be, but it was, she was tough to take. So, as far as being snubbed, this would have been part of the 1934 Oscars because in 1934 they just started going by the calendar year. So this would have competed with the winner, which was It Happened One Night, Cleopatra, Flirtation Walk, Here Comes the Navy, James Cagney, Imitation of Life, One Night of Love, The Barretts of Wimpole Street, The Gay Divorcee, The House of Rothschild, The Thin Man, The White Parade, which I was not able to watch, and Viva Villa. Viva Villa, however you say that. I liked several of these movies from 1934. There were quite a few good ones, actually. I did like It Happened One Night. It Happened One Night was with Clark Gable, which was the first thing I'd ever seen him in, and that was actually really good. So this is the first thing I've seen W.C. Fields in. Obviously, I know who he is. I know a lot of like movie history, but I was just never that interested in watching a lot of these older movies. And a lot of them are pretty good, and some I would rewatch. And these comedies, comedy, if it's good, it stands the test of time. And this stuff was funny, but like I said, a little too repetitive. Should this have been nominated for Best Picture? No, it should not. So, and just to explain a little bit, I might have said before, but I found two lists of movies that claimed to be snubbed. The first was on a site with a headline that just said the 100 best movies that were not nominated for Best Picture. The second, and that one, it had 100 movies. However, it didn't, it would have been good if they did like 100 movies, 100 years, but there were a lot of gaps. So some years on this list, they might have had two movies from 2019 or 2011. And I'm like, okay, the newer movies probably don't need as many. There weren't as many snubbed, but there were a lot of gaps. So then I found another list that just is on a site called Film Site. And the subject of the headline of this article is just Academy Awards snubbed by Oscar, mistakes and omissions. And I think it has other things besides just Best Picture, but they have a whole list. Great pictures not nominated for a Best Picture Academy Award. So I basically just went through that and filled in any gaps in years so that I'd have basically something for every year. I think 1930 was the only year I didn't really find a movie that was considered snubbed, but I found two for 1931, so close enough. I don't think this one was snubbed. I think that, Duck Soup being a comedy, maybe it was snubbed. That was pretty brilliant. This one is funny, but I don't think that this one was snubbed at all. So there were already 12 movies for the 1934 Oscars, and I certainly don't think they should have added a 13th. Maybe one of these Viva Villa was not good. So maybe that could have been bumped for something else, but I don't think it was this one. Again, I did like the movie. I did like It's a Gift. I just don't think it would have been deserving of an Oscar. And being a comedy, like even back then, I think they probably mostly overlooked comedies for the most part. There's some things like Here Comes the Navy from 1934 has some comedy in it, but nothing that's like full blown comedy. So that's it. I think this one was good, but it wasn't really snubbed in my opinion. So we'll leave it there, and we'll see you next time for our next regular episode for the 1935 Oscars.